G'day there, Plantifyers. Jess here, and welcome back to the garden. Today I'm going to share what I am harvesting, planting and growing this November in my subtropical garden in the Sunshine Coast Hinterland, Australia. And it's been a really productive year. It's been my first year properly growing a garden, especially a food garden. And there's a lot going on, even though we're moving into the summertime, which here is the most difficult time to garden because it is hot, it is wet, and a lot of traditional vegetables just don't do well in that sort of weather. So I've been spring cleaning my garden, making space, getting rid of the old tomatoes, and of course Alice is here helping as always. And just enjoying the spring, the end of the spring garden. The rains are just starting. As I've recorded most of this video, it was just before the rain started, so it was kind of the end of the dry season, but everything's still been going quite well and things have been liking the increased warmth before it gets to the super hot time of year. So the nasturtiums have been growing, the zucchini are growing strongly here, and we've been eating a lot of zucchini fritters over the last few weeks as the zucchini plants have been producing. And I think I showed in my last video, my October harvest video, the yellow zucchini. So now we've got the black beauty, more traditional zucchini fruiting as well. And the new cucumber varieties I'm trying. So we've got this one, which is a long white cucumber. I'm also growing giant Russian cucumber down in the vine garden. This is the bamboo house garden here, our netted garden that I'm filming in at the moment and harvesting in. So I've kept these long white cucumbers up here, and I've kept the other ones down somewhere else so they don't cross-pollinate. And of course, cucumber time means pickle time. So you can see those yellow ones, that's the giant Russian cucumbers, and homegrown dill and homegrown garlic in our pickle, which is really exciting and it's delicious. If you're interested in a recipe, let me know and I'll link to it in the comments. Also, the beetroot have been growing nicely. So we've been having a lot of beetroot with our roasts. We usually have like a chicken roast once a week or so. So it's nice to always add a little bit of homegrown produce to that. And of course beetroot leaves as well can go in our omelettes on a regular basis, which is nice. So we've also been starting to really eat a decent amount of eggplants. They've been producing really nicely for me this month, and we're starting to learn how we like to eat them because it's not something we tend to buy, but they're actually really good. We've got a few different ways we've been eating them. Thinly sliced and fried is really nice. And my beans that I'm finally getting after many months of struggle are still going well and growing nicely. So it's lovely to be getting those on the plate regularly, although that bottom part, like foot or so, has been eaten by something, but thankfully they only ate the leaves, not the beans, and the plants are still growing nicely, which is great. And another surprise harvest is some sweet potato, because I've had this sweet potato in this pot since like February and I just kind of forgot about it, to be honest, and I thought it might be time to harvest it, and it was. So we got a decent amount of sweet potato out of this completely neglected pot. I mean, in my climate, honestly, sweet potato was like indestructible and a really staple crop because it can handle the heat and the humidity and the rain. And I've got another video coming up about my sweet potato patch. I have a whole patch elsewhere in the garden. So subscribe if you want to see more about that. I'm actually talking about how I'm taking care of it for the summer, and we'll see how we get. I got some amazingly huge sweet potatoes earlier this year at the end of summer. It was crazy. This is like a small amount compared to what I got out of that. And of course we have this thing, we just like empty it straight on the compost. So There you go, just over 1 kilo of sweet potatoes out of that pot, which was nice. And I actually used the cat palace here to put them outside to cure, because they're protected and they air out really nicely. So we use that and it works well. Of course, plenty of warrigal greens are still going, and I did a video on that recently as well. I'll put a little card up for that. Constantly processing those and our other spinaches to add to various dishes. Okay, so as to what we are actually growing newly, so we sowed a bunch of seeds. I try to succession sow every month. Once a month I do a bunch of seeds so that I always have new seedlings coming on, because in our climate there's really no such thing as time off gardening. Like, you can grow stuff all year round. So I'm always sowing new seeds. That's a lemon that I got in a harvest swap from someone, and you can see a bunch of other stuff there too. Jalapenos, we've got zinnia, tarragon, some loofah, Timor lettuce, which I haven't grown before, and various other bits and pieces. So lots of stuff happening there. I've also sowed some winged beans, again, that I got at a swap. I've never grown them before. I've never grown most of this before, but they're going to grow over that trellis, fingers crossed, which will be great. And I've also sown some snake beans, which are going to grow up down here in the vine garden, hopefully. And I've kind of succession sowed them next to the cucumbers. So as the cucumbers finish, I'm hoping the snake beans will go up and cover this trellis. I've also taken some cuttings of various things. I'm not too sure about how this mix will go, because I have a bit of compost and soil in there and it might be too heavy, so we'll see how that goes. But I can always do another lot later. Most of this is stuff like rosemary and various other bits and pieces from my garden, so we'll see how those cuttings go as well. And of course I've been planting out my seedlings, because I always have seedlings coming along. So we put our own compost into these old bags, so it's easy to put onto the garden. Nick actually generally is the compost king, and he will take care of it and put it in these bags for me, so it's easy for me to just grab a bag and get down into whatever garden I'm working on and just put fresh compost down. So we've got some oregano here that's going to go into this garden. I've got a few bits and pieces to fit in, and you know, beautiful thing about one of these sorts of herbs is it's easy to propagate it by just cutting it in half, so I can put it in 2 different spots. And we're going to plant that in a couple of different spots in this garden just outside our bedroom window. You can see I polyculture, and we've got the little pond in the middle, so I've got some yarrow at the back already there. There's some violas, there's some new cosmos on the side, there's snapdragons. And I just add new bits of compost and then pop in the new seedlings and just grow the bed that way. That's, I think, marjoram. It's honestly just a random seedling that popped up in one of my mixes, and I'm like, it looks like marjoram. It smells like it. Let's just go with that. And so we're going to pop it in this little spot here to spread out. The next thing I have to go in is some lime basil that you can see was in there for a little long, and it has started to flower already. But it was really time to plant it. So I just pull off the flower to let it put its energy back into growing more leaves and getting established rather than flowering. And then I have these cute capsicum seedlings, that's right, bell pepper capsicum seedlings. These are actually from a long red capsicum that I think I got from the supermarket or somewhere, and I just saved some seed and I'm like, let's see what happens, because I liked it, it was yummy. So I've got some seedlings growing from that, and we'll see how they go. Hopefully they will produce for us, because it was a nice capsicum and I'd really like to have some of those coming out of my garden. And then of course just backfilling with the sugarcane mulch and planting down the other side as well. I'm hoping that the fact there's all the other established plants will help protect these seedlings a bit from our bush turkey friends who like to dig stuff out. I usually would put a cover over them, which I do with most of my seedlings, but I didn't with these ones. So as always, when I plant something, I get some worm juice or some weed tea, just to help the seedlings settle in a little bit and water them in with that. So here's our planted lime basil and our capsicum, nestling in there amongst the yarrow, the pink yarrow that I've got in the garden already. And it's looking good, considering this garden didn't exist 12 months ago. Alright, so we also have some flowers, some calendula pink surprise, which is like this orangey pink calendula, and also some globe amaranth, and this is a purple globe amaranth. It's the only one I have, so I didn't need to write the colour down, although I do want to get it in some other colours because it's really pretty. So I'm planting these into the bamboo house because there's not as many flowers as I would like in there at the moment. I'm trying to make sure there's always flowers in there to bring in the pollinators. So I'm popping these seedlings all over the place in here, spreading them out amongst the different garden beds and making sure that within the next few months there's going to be lots of flowers. Now both of these flowers, the calendula and the globe amaranth, are really long flowering plants in my climate. Like I have globe amaranth that I planted literally in like February and it still has not finished flowering. I don't know what's going on, it's crazy. And same with calendula. I have calendula that I planted at the end, probably at the end of summer, like, and most of them are still putting out flowers now. So I'm hoping by putting these in, they're going to be really long flowering plants in my climate and in my garden, which will help to bring in those pollinators. You can see I've got, plenty of nasturtiums. See the calendulas on the right hand side there, the yellow ones. So yeah, they've been flowering forever. And just popping a couple in the corner of my asparagus bed. Some fennel that I had left in the pot a little bit too long is also going in. I'm putting a couple here with another flower, and I'm also, I don't think I filmed it, but I also in another bed planted out a bunch of fennel. Now I know they say that fennel, you shouldn't plant it near other things because it can affect how well other stuff grows, but I mean I'm planting it near like the corn, which is getting close to maturity now, and I'm hoping it'll be fine by the time the fennel's actually a decent size. So we'll see what happens there. So now we're down in the orchard, which I am planning on turning into a food forest because a lot of these citrus trees were well established here when we moved in. So one of the first things I'm putting in is some comfrey that I got at a community garden in September. I was just chatting and I was like, oh, I'm looking for, I can't find comfrey. She's like, we have heaps here. Do you want to take some? I'm like, that'd be amazing. So she gave me some, and I'm just popping some in here to see how it goes under this citrus tree. I think this is one of our orange trees. So it's a bit of an experiment to see how it goes here. I think hopefully it'll be good. If it is, then I'll plant some more down around some of the other trees as well, because I want to do proper guilds under these trees and expand the food forest down here in the orchard rather than it just being trees and grass and weeds, as you can see. So this is the summer bed I planted out in a video about a month ago. You can see the okra is starting to grow. The bee balm is starting to grow. We've got some other seedlings in there. I've got various things like some dahlia babies. There's some purple ruffled basil. And over here at the bamboo house, I've also got some seedlings in the outside gardens. I've planted a whole bunch of zinnia seedlings that I had growing. So I'm excited for them to grow. They love the summer here. Some more bee balm there to fill up that space. You can see some of the other bits and pieces that are sort of lingering on there, like the everlasting daisies, which just keep going. And more zinnia on the other side. A bunch of different colours. I'm just trying different cultivars to see which ones grow well in our particular garden. And a few more here in this other bed by my bird bath. And then of course we've got the little salvia garden here with the various colours of mini salvias and some cat whiskers in the middle there, which is an Australian native, not flowering at the moment, but this is all going pretty well. I gave it a top dressing recently of compost. The corn is reaching for the sky. And I'm hand pollinating that at the moment, actually. And down here in the vine garden, despite the destruction of the hailstorm, which I did do a video about recently, everything is picking back up slowly but surely. And in this last week, after I filmed this, since we've got a bunch of rain, it's starting to really take off now. And it will grow epically quickly. Once the rains kick in and the heat kicks in, this is going to look amazing in a month or two. And I'm hoping it'll give us plenty of watermelon and plenty of various squash and pumpkin that I've planted. And a few cute little insects, lots of bees around, which I'm loving. And they're loving the like dandelion type flowers that I'm just leaving to grow at the moment to make them happy, because the bees love them, so I don't mind them being there. I hope you enjoyed this little garden tour. I love doing these monthly videos, and if you enjoyed it, please do subscribe so you can see what I'm growing in December and beyond. Thanks for watching, and goodbye for now. See you in the garden next time.